Yo,
Hello, Brian.
yeah, man.
Good, we
Well,
good to go.
nice shirt too. I like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
cheers, brother. What's on yours? Also, the MK shirt, is it?
yeah. It's an old school MK Dawn. Some
Nice,
bullshit there. But
nice.
where are you? Where are you calling me from? What time of day is it
The
there?
land of Ireland. It's 4 o'clock
Oh my God. Four. Don't say AM.
PM. PM.
PM. Good, good.
Yeah,
Okay, I
we're
was gonna say. I was gonna say if you woke up at 4 a.m. for me, I would advise you to turn the camera off. And
Brian.
but
You're
no,
you're worth it. Don't worry.
thank you very much, sir. Great to talk with you
Oh man,
here.
hey, thanks so much for doing this.
My pleasure, dude. You've got a cool little Rolodex you're working there of interesting names. I was like, damn, this guy knows what he's talking about here. You
Oh
know, he's
well,
a
thank you very much. Yeah.
appreciator of life and art. So yeah,
Yeah, it's from musicians to scientists and MMA and everything. Well, you're the first person I've had on with about MMA, so that's cool, man.
there you go. There you go.
MMA and music, that's my vibe.
Yes, I like that. I like that a lot.
What have you got there in the back? Vinyl, that top right.
Oh yeah. I got the backside of Van Morrison's. What's that one? You know, I can't put the front side on because it's like an Asian fellow and it might look sensitively. I just picked it up too. It's an image. It's arguably the first Van Morrison album that didn't hit after that run he had.
Okay.
Let me where the hell is that one? That's so that one, I mean, are you familiar with his run there?
I
That's the
I know some of it. I'm not you. I know like Astral Reeks and stuff like that.
yeah, that's Hard Nosed the Highway. I just picked that one up for like $2 the other day at the store. It's a
Wow.
good listen, but it's it's like a slight step down from that run that he had. But damn, dude, I'm still living that run that he had. You know what I mean?
What's your I know we're starting off with music here, but fuck it. What's your top albums? I know that's a hard question to
Are you talking
answer.
about for Van Morrison or in
No,
general?
in general. I know it probably changes because for me, it's like every someone asked me one day and I'm like, oh that, and then it fucking changes.
Yeah, it definitely changes through the years from Abbey Road to, Blonde on Blonde by Dylan across the board. But I think I stand firm to this day with Jimi Hendrix's Electric Ladyland, his third solo or third recording, as being like ultimately everything I want out of rock and roll. It's a, it's a, Jimmy's always veering into psychedelia and just
Yeah.
it's almost space rock, but the that is his magnum opus because not only is it a double album, but that's the one where producer Chaz Chandler halfway through was like, we're wasting money, we're wasting time. You got half this room filled with all your friends. Like, what are you doing here? Can we make the 3 minute pop song and get out of here? And Jimmy finally stood his ground. I was like, no, this is the art I'm trying to make. So that's as abstract and weird and beautiful, and hard rock and blues rock, but yet just as anything he ever put out. And I mean, I have this debate a lot with people that love rock music too. That some people put like in jazz, they'll put okay, Miles Davis is up here. We can't really talk about him because there's no way to compare him, and everybody else is sort of down here. And then we can
Yeah.
kind of compare and contrast what we love and don't. And the deeper you get into Hendrix, the more you realize that in rock that he's just doing something different. Now you may not love what he's that different is, but it's better than everybody else. And if he hadn't entered that 27 club and died
I know.
really at the peak of his powers after what are we talking about here? 3 studio albums, the live band of Gypsies record, and an aborted studio fourth one that never really got finished. I really think he would have led the charge into jazz fusion, into instrumental rock, which was such a big deal in the 70s with
Yeah.
sort of prog and classical and jazz and rock and blues and everything just kind of coming together. I mean, he would have been at the front of that. So as great as he is, and as much as I can look at Electric Ladyland as like that's the peak of his unfiltered genius. I think it was only going to get better from
Oh
there. But
yeah.
heroin is a motherfucker, so probably not. But I can live and dream
Can
though
you
in that regard.
imagine? His drummer, this is a weird fact. I'm from a tiny little village. His drummer, Mitch Mitchell, used to come round. It's in the pub. He used to say,
No
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember I was there talking to the guy who used to own the pub, and he goes, you're a Hendrix fan. I was like, yeah. He goes, Mitch Mitchell used to come around. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, he'd sit at the bar. He didn't want
Dude,
anyone
I would
annoying
have been
him.
picking his brain
I know. If I
at
knew, if I
nauseum.
knew.
One of the best power rock drummers who
Oh,
nobody talks about
bro.
today. Nobody. I mean, put
That
on
that
that song that hit Fire that Jimmy had and just hear him
come
just
on.
going nuts.
Come on, class man. Hendrix has so many like Bowles Access and like you said, Fire and Little Wing. Man, what a dude! Like, What a
Oh
fucking. Are
yeah.
you a Rory Gallagher fan?
I'm sorry, who?
You a Rory Gallagher fan?
No, I never
Oh man,
crossed into that, but I hear
you'd
that
like
name come up a
Gallagher.
lot
Yeah,
in
you'd
that
like
in
Gallagher. There's kind of a crossover between, not that there's, but just kind of guitar virtuoso kind of vibe,
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, man.
But anyways, music aside, what was I going to say to you? I mean, I wanted to ask you because I was going to look at loads of podcasts you did already. I said, well, it's sometimes weird because you're asking somebody a question you've already know the answer to it. But I said, no, fuck it, I won't do that. I'd rather someone tell me. So how did you how did you actually get into MMA? Like not MMA, but like broadcasting. Like how did that all start? How did you get into the whole vibe of it?
Yeah, a long and winding road, right? To pair another rock classic in there. But so I was always that stat nerd as a kid who could memorize things and rip, and I could hold my own in a court in the cafeteria and not get a sports trivia question wrong for an hour. So I felt like I had something kind of weird and special in me, and that was the only thing I had that had to come out. So I grew up 20 minutes from ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut, right in the suburbs
Uh,
outside of that. So that was sort of always me looking at like, all right, what can I do with my life? I got this one skill. I love sports and I'm insanely passionate about it. And I can write a little bit. I just always thought, okay, look, here's the deal. I was writing for my local paper when I was, 17, whatever,
hmm.
bounced around covering high school sports for newspapers. But the goal was always, like a lot of people in this sort of area and in this sort of upbringing of, if I can just get to ESPN in some form, I would
Yeah.
sweep the floors over at midnight. I'd cut the highlights at 3 a.m., whatever they needed, and that would be fulfilled. But it is wild how much your journey goes because, I sort of did the journalism route and hit the dead ends and the walls of being a newspaper reporter and then landed at ESPN at age 27 in a shitty part-time job. And then was just sort of like, what can I do with this? And it's always been a slow, long, hard, arduous grind, and never one where I was always ahead of the game with a vision or a belief that I'm going to get there. It was more of like a feeling,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I was at ESPN for 12 years. I never made any money. I got amazing opportunities because of connections and how hard I worked to just try different stuff. And that's responsible for why I'm here today.
Hmm.
But during that journey, it's crazy how you look back on your life. I tried to get out of that, working nights and weekends and not making a lot of money, can barely pay the rent and, losing my friendships and all this stuff. And I'm like, I tried to get out of that job so many times. And it just, at a certain point where you don't get this job, you should have got it. Or one time I got another job at this big company. And then I called them back 2 days later and said, sorry, sir, the person you were going to replace, they decided to come back. We have to let you go. I know we just hired you yesterday. Like there's a lot of those moments
Yeah.
where I was just hitting this certain point where I'm like, all right, I'm supposed to be here, God or the universe, wherever you want to, however you want to filter the way we're being led in life is leading me here. So how did I get to combat sports? Well, I was always a sports guy, lucky to land at ESPN, worked every crappy job you can do there. But like a lot of people, 5-6 years in, started going, okay, man, I'm 30 something years old. What am I going to do? What am I going to do with my career? What am I going to do with my life? And that's where some of the craziest crossroad moments were created for me, where, I started submitting boxing stories to ESPN.com, and they were more than happy to use them for free, and it's great. But there was a point I had a boss sit me down and go, you've been working for me for years, really, really hard. What do you want to do? I can make a call upstairs. I can help you out. What do you want to
Yeah.
do? Like, I want to write about boxing and cover it. Now I'm also covering mixed martial arts at this time. I'm the combat sports guy in my ESPN newsroom, whatever they need. And he goes, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. It's a dead end sport. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? It's my love. What do you got? I got passion. What are you talking? No. He goes, answer me right now. It's probably 2011. He goes, how many people get paid a full-time living and can support a family covering boxing right now in the world? And I was like, damn, Raphael, Kevin Iole, maybe halfway, Chris Mannix, half of his week. Okay, maybe you got a good point there, boss. But I remember looking him in the eye and going, you can't pick what you love for whatever reason. This is the journey I'm going on. And that has been a thing that I've consistently leaned on. I didn't stop there. I didn't stop when I knocked on the doors of ESPN TV in 2014 and said, I really think I can contribute on air for you guys and be a whatever. And, they looked at me, they go, nah, you're not an ex-fighter. You're not a trainer. You don't break news like some of these other guys. We can't sell you to an audience. We can't believe in you. And I had a lot of those times where I could have or maybe should have stepped away. But you know, a lot of those times I'm also fighting for survival to keep the lights on. And this whole journey of loving these two sports, boxing and mixed martial arts, boxing, of course, originally, but you know, I was watching UFC 3 and 4 on stolen, you know, illegal pay-per-view boxes with my dad in high school. So I go way
Bro,
back in
I'm the
MMA as
same.
well.
I'm the same.
Um, you know, how did I get here? I was destined to get here, and I've come to realize that. And I got out of my own way enough to finally get here, meaning I tried to run so many times and you don't get paid along the way. But here I am because I try to filter that out and say, okay, why? Why am I here? I'm not a particularly great writer. I'm decent. You know, I'm not on the grindstone breaking news. I'm not an ex-fighter, as they once told me. But I feel like I've never lost that childlike love
Yeah.
for something dangerous is about to go down. And we all remember that being in like high school and hearing, oh shit, you just, you know, a fight broke out in the room next door. You got to run and see it. There's a little bit of that in there. There's a little bit like these are the modern day gladiators living a lifestyle that I just can't understand or subscribe to. And I inevitably, you know, look up to these people and want to be that person that can create a soundtrack to what they're doing. There's a lot of that built in there, but how I got here was just not giving up, and lucky to be at a big company like ESPN and lucky to make certain moves and learn lessons along the way. And, you know, it's a little bit more profitable to be in MMA than boxing for sure. And I certainly developed that love and happy where I'm at now. But, you know, I'm getting paid to share with people how excited I am for each week's fight. And at the end of the day, that's the basis of it to me. It's nothing more pure than that. It's I love fights and they pay me to be in a position to inform people and tell them why they should love it too. So here we are, man. And it's fantastic.
Yeah, man. I think that's why people like the show. I think that what you look doing fucking cool, man. Because you're authentic. You're yourselves, you know. Whereas other, like I'm not gonna there's other things that are a bit too kind of like, well, next up on, you know, like that kind of shit,
Yeah,
man. I'm
yeah.
like, fuck that. Whereas you guys are like man, you're fucking hilarious. When I watched the show, I'd be laughing like that part the other day with that guy's dick tattoo. Man, I cried laughing at that, bro.
Oh, I thought we were gonna lose our jobs for that, but it was worth the risk,
I
right?
cried laughing. I was like, "Mom," I said to my mother, "You got to see this." I said, "She's like, come here." She's like, she's laughing her
Well,
ass
dude,
off.
here's what's interesting. You're referencing Morning Kombat and sort of these random moments, which to me aren't random. They're very, you know, planned, and I'm hoping to bring joy and ridiculousness in the midst of actual analysis. But it's like two things. We're not here right now doing Morning Kombat and presenting this different way of doing this without, you know, Showtime and CBS Sports and all these people being like, all right, we'll take a chance and we'll do that. So timing and luck and all of that is certainly perfect and important. But man, I, like a lot of people, learned a hard lesson about being authentic and that there's
Yeah,
value. Not only is there value in that, but that's the only way it's supposed to be. And here's how the best I'll explain that. I was lucky enough at ESPN 3-4 years in a row to get there. There's the only thing that matters in this business is reps at the end of the day, right? Because you could be listening to this and you're a bigger combat sports fan than me. And you're saying to yourself, man, I bet I can do that. What BC and Luke does. I bet I could do it better. I bet you could do, but you're not going to do it unless you get the reps to get there. I got lucky to get so many reps behind the scenes at ESPN where barely anybody was watching, hosting digital boxing shows and doing all this stuff and getting to a point where I was like, okay, I'm credible on camera, but I'm going to be real with you. You know what I was doing? Like a lot of people who were faking it to make it, right?
right.
I was a fraud. I knew I was a fraud. I was trying my best on the microphone not to screw up. And what I was really doing at the end of the day was trying to be the best distillation of what I thought was the best in the industry at that day. So if I'm a boxing guy in 2013, which I was, I'm trying to be a poor man's Jim Lampley the whole time, right? The great
Right.
HBO boxing, great Hall of Fame broadcaster from the States. This is as good as it gets, right? He's the best. And there was, you know, there's only so much you can grow when you're doing anything but figuring out exactly who you are. Now, you can argue this process was the incubator of me figuring out exactly who I was, but I got pretty far in this game trying to be a rip-off facsimile of somebody else who was great, trying my best to look and sound in any way that I could, and almost hiding the real me, because I think we all have these fears of like, what do I have to bring? What value do I have to bring? I learned the lesson that changed my career, not because I'm genius, but probably because a lot of people, I was not aware of what was going on inside me. You know, I had anxiety runneth over, and like a lot of us in this mental health battle, I didn't take it seriously, and it was affecting now that I was suddenly working from home every day, and you know, there's an adjustment from being in a company with 5,000 people and saying hi to 200 people a day to being in your basement in your pajamas in the winter every single day.
Yeah,
I didn't make that adjustment well, and I hit this wall of, I'm not getting any better. I may have a good job. I may be good, but this isn't me.
yeah,
I'm not happy with what was supposed to be my dream job. I'm finally getting paid to do this. You know, what the hell is going on? And I was somebody who, like a lot of us, if I was on camera for 5 minutes, I would look at that video, you know, 50 times afterwards and just die with every misstep or thing I should have said, and just let it eat at me, so that the next time I'm on camera, I just want it to end so I can be done and not have to deal with that feeling, right? Which is fuel. It can be fear. You could take fear at its best and just use it as fuel. But what I ended up learning was taking my mental health seriously, going on, reaching out to a therapist, going on low dose antidepressants. And there was something for me in my journey about unlocking, I like to call it just the lack of care. Whatever that did for me in that moment, and I was 40 years old when this happened. 40 years old. This is recent. What it did for me in that moment was a wake-up call. Like, why are you trying to be anything but yourself? Yeah. Why are you worrying about all these things you can't control? Why are you are the reason you can't be the best you can be, because you feel like that isn't good enough, so you have to be something else. Whatever the combination of getting on these meds and just sitting back and going, all right, I just did that video hit, and I don't care what it sounded like. In fact, I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of me in this time and see what happens. Yeah. I can't tell you, man, the phone started ringing at a level that I could have only dreamed of for TV opportunities. You want to host this show on Fox? Do you want to call this fights for DAZN? Do you want to work at this series for NBC? All this stuff in addition to my day job, where I woke up one day and said, you know what? I am good enough. What I have to offer not only is good enough, not only will it get me further than trying to be a second-rate anybody else, but, I may have to teach the public that there's a different way to do it just by being me. And when you sort of unlock that freedom to just be you, you get better at a rate that you never imagined, because you remove the biggest stumbling block that's stopping you, and that's you, right? It's getting out of your own mind and your own way. Yeah, and once I did that and figured out how to be extreme BC, same guy I am drinking a beer, at the bar with my friends or in the backyard fire pit. Once I realized that guy is wanted and needed, it was like, the hell am I been doing my whole life up to this point, right? Yeah, and it's a valuable lesson, but I'm not here today cracking jokes and having fun and doing things differently on MK. Obviously, if it isn't for executives with money and power to say yes, but it wasn't unless at some point I hit a wall of like, I'm not getting any better. I'm going to be destined to just kind of be here the rest of my career. And that's a good career. That's fine. But there's more, man. There's more. Yeah. There's more. I think we're all destined for something special and creative and amazing in us. It just, you got to have the want and the will and the luck to find that formula, and unlock it. Yeah, man. It's funny you should say about you watching like little parts of the minutiae of what we say, like same with making records, man. I spent my first record. I spent years. I would listen to the same song, mixing it, change this, change that, change this, change that. Fucking years. It took me like 5 years to finish my first record. I would play it to people and they'd be like, it's fine. I'm like, yeah, but you don't hear that snare, that fucking snare. You know what I mean? Like you go, like it's crazy, and it's like, it's kind of these mental health issues we have that we kind of unresolved, and you kind of, if you don't notice them, they slowly get bigger and bigger until you kind of hit that breaking point and you're like, fuck, I actually got to do something because it's not actually healthy now. So it's good to kind of get to that point that you realize that, but it's funny because people all go through that same kind of thing. Like if like you're stuck in that minutia, and like no matter what you do, you're never happy with it. The whole world could go, that's the greatest thing ever, and you're like, yeah, but that one tiny thing, Well, I think that you're trying to polish it to a level that removes you, right? Yes, you look at it and you go, there's too much me in it. I want it to be something different, until you realize that what you have to offer, when properly exercised and cleaned up and put forth through the best version of yourself is like, it's the only answer. It's the only way you're going to be happy. It's the only way you're going to make it. So it's interesting you make that correlation to recording, because it's like you're trying to probably remove these little quirks that are you.
Yeah.
But those quirks are what make you.
Yeah, I know. It's a weird
make
one,
you
isn't it?
unique.
It's a weird one. It's like we're always trying to like find something that probably isn't there. You're in search of something. Like perfection is a word that doesn't really, there is no such thing as perfection, because my perfection could be someone else's perfect, it couldn't, we're always in that kind of battle of things. And yeah, I like though there's a similar correlation between like, the way your mind is thinking to it with your creativity, and then there's a music thing. I suppose it's all kind of artistic in its own way.
It is. You know what's crazy is when let's go back 5-7 years ago, before I was lucky to be in really cool podcast spots, and I was sort of trying to get my foot going, get everything together. I'd love to host a podcast. I'd love for people to care about it and all this stuff. And I was thinking back then, that was back when podcasts really started taking out. And you know what I was listening to left and right? All these interviews with these old pro wrestlers, right? And that was a big part of the early like podcast launch.
Bret Hart, right? That's the man.
Bret Hart, I mean, Chris Jericho, everybody's got a podcast and they're bringing on the next wrestler. And to hear how each guy navigated not just the backroom politics that we all have at our own jobs or whatever to get through, but the creation of the character. And it's like every single story, listen to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Every single story is about once he realized that it's him that makes the badass Stone Cold character, but just him turned up to, 11, as he likes to say, not him putting on a mask, not him doing all this stuff or dyeing his hair, just him being a no nonsense SOB. It's like, I was subconsciously learning all these key value lessons on how to figure out your brand and your art and your message, and then how to sculpt and protect and create that. It's like the Let It Be album by the Beatles. What do we love subconsciously the most about that? That it's so loose that it opens with them just sort of talking and, and sort of like, I hope we pass the audition, like little things like that you're like, normally in popular music, you cut that shit right out. That doesn't make sense on there, but yet that's the gold at the end of the day right there. Cause it's just them being them, and it's such this exploration and growth. Sometimes I make that corny joke with these Morning Kombat documentaries that it's the ups and downs, the highs and lows, the exploration of men, the growth of men. That's all the hell that we're all doing right here. Okay. And I love when people are like, BC, man, I DM'd you to say great show, and I can't believe you DM'd me back. And I'm just like, dude, I can't believe you're watching my show. Okay. I can't believe that, like, you know what I mean? Because we're all just regular dudes at the end of the day, in different countries, as I'm finding how large this world is by all the MK fans reaching out from all over, with the same battle for acceptance, for love, for, we just all want to feel like we're adding something. And it's like, it reminds me of when I had this major life transformation in my 20s and became a Christian, was following Christ and doing all these good things, and was just praying like, God, what do you want me to do? You want me to work on the front lines and be a minister? You want me to go out and do this? You want me to go out and do that? And, and a lot of times in prayer, the God would just be like, I just want you to find a wife and be a really good dad.
Yeah, man.
And I was like, oh, really? That's it? No, that's everything. That's actually everything at the end of the day. So, we are all in our own art, in our own walk, battling the exact same thing.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned pro wrestling, because I don't know, was it the same point that you stopped? Like after, for me, UFC is kind of like the Attitude Era now, like that kind of vibe. I get that kind of same vibe. And after that, it's when I was like, I'm out, man. It just got too kind of, that whole Attitude Era was fucking amazing.
It's great.
Couldn't miss that shit every fucking week. I was like, oh man, I can't wait. Like, it was ridiculous and brilliant and mental.
It was the unpredictability.
Yes.
But it was fueled by competition.
Yeah.
And if we compare that to MMA, it's like, I love the UFC. They fuel my job for the most part, right? They're entertaining as crap. You get your money's worth. I love everything about the UFC. Do you know what I'd love more than anything for the UFC? To have another UFC make a run at them, even if it's short-lived, even if someone goes as far as Strikeforce did, through Zuffa buying them, or if Bellator or ONE or PFL can either combine together or on their own make the run. Nothing changes the status quo for the better like competition, right? New guy comes in at work, sits next to you, and you're like, oh shit, they're grooming him to take over my job, and he's better looking than me, and he's smarter, and he comes from a better college. Guess what? You're going to be hitting the weights at home that night. It's just natural. It's going to make a better you. You know what I mean? Competition fuels it all, right? Like we all want that for the UFC badly, I feel like deep inside. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I feel like we want that.
Yeah.
Then you're getting the 90s attitude era all over again.
That'd be quality. Could you imagine putting on events at the same time? You're flicking over between one to the other. That was like the WCW night where you'd flick over and you'd see Hogan on something and then Mankind or something like. But even with the attitude era, what was cool about it was like every match kind of has significance. Like the hardcore title, like everyone had significance. So after that, it just kind of dropped off for me. I think after WCW got bought out, like, you know, that competition, it just kind of like,
Oh yeah. Then it became like Vince McMahon and WWE trying to make their own in-house competition, but it's the same joke I always make about the cruise ship buffet. You know, the food on the cruise ship's great day 1, 2 and a half, but days 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, breakfast tastes like dinner, and lunch is what no one ate the night before. Just recite, like it's all the same at the end of the day, right? It's too homogenized in that regard.
But back in the day, like I don't know, you said something about getting the watching the UFC when you're younger. We used to, I don't know, we were maybe 6 or 7. They used to this place called Precious Memories, like a video store, like a VHS store, and they had. You sent my poor grandfather in to get the tapes, but they put the UFC tapes. I think they were illegal tapes. I don't know. They must have been, but they put them in the same section as the porn section. So
that's great. It's like Faces of Death, adult films, and UFC where it belongs.
Pretty much.
Would you say it's wild that that the sport in less than 30 years has completely, not completely, because you're still never going to sell a certain portion of like mainstream America or any country on one man sitting on another guy's chest until he's bloody, right? That's just what it is. But like, dude, why did we love the UFC in the 90s? Because it was basically Faces of Death. That was something so like, oh my God, right?
Yeah, it was like Street Fighter shit, like.
Yeah, and they had to lose that to be where they are now. But holy crap, look at where they are now. They're like, it's basically a Big 4 sport on ESPN, like in your living room. It's cleaned up as much as it can be. But yeah, I think we're always, and maybe that's why there's life for a BKFC or even Dana White's ridiculous slap league that's coming out. Maybe there's just sort of that desire to have that lawless feel again, right?
Yeah. Did you like that ridiculousness of the first? I loved it, man. I loved it. I
not only love it, I miss it. Like we talk about a lot of eras in MMA, and let's like, even if you go back to that 2006, 7, 8 era where ESPN's or UFC is on television doing, better on pay-per-view card by card, and you had Chuck versus Rampage, which was a monumental sort of, breakthrough pay-per-view moment, but it was still edgy and wild. And even the two top skilled guys would get in there for a title fight and fight to the death, right? You know what I mean? But it retained enough of that early, that mid late 90s feel. But no, there was nothing like Keith Hackney punching Joe Son in the balls 87 times in a row. I'll never forget the laughing that my grandfather, who, he was a boxing fan, but that was it. He laughed till like tears were coming down and his stomach was like, this was the greatest thing ever. And then, the skinny guy kicking fat guy in the mouth. I mean, all these moments were just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember that Tila. Is it Tila Thule fight?
The first one.
Just the kick, and me and my brother going, holy shit, bro. What the fuck? Just kick that guy right in the face.
They didn't stop fights early back then too.
No.
So some guys got pounded out,
Yeah. A lot like I remember my grandmother, like you're saying about your grandfather. My grandmother loved pro wrestling. Like she loved it. Like,
oh yeah.
Like a lot of older people love that shit. Like back in the day.
Oh, it was real to them. That's why. I mean, it was freaking real to them, and to close on the pro wrestling conversation, I've been in and out like a lot of people as like a crazy hardcore fan. There was times I was doing it for work, podcasting, and it was great. But then the product inevitably just kind of ruins itself. To be honest, seriously, the changes that Vince McMahon and WWE began in the 80s by being so open that, and they did that to not have to pay the state commissions and to not be treated as an actual sport, because obviously there was rampant drug use and all these other not healthy things going on. So they made it entertainment and told everybody, and it, that's the last time wrestling was real. You know what I mean? The Attitude Era in the 90s were so different and raw, and the swearing and the sex and all that it just brought everybody back. But separate from that, I don't think there's ever been a boom period really since it stopped being real, it's like, I mean, it would be hard to be an adult and still think that's real. Yet you go back and watch wrestling in the Mid-South or in World Class in Texas in 1984, and the people in the crowd, oh, it's still real to them, damn it. It's real to them. So there was something magical about that, even if you had to entrap at times it seemed like, the Midwestern local dumb guy to come down. But man, people want that escape, and UFC gives you that. They still market the best. It's best against best. They still love playing up the trash talking. So I can get little feels of that early pro wrestling that hooked me, I mean, is there anything left that still looks like SEG 90s UFC today? I mean, the cage, the damn song, what's the stem song? Face the Pain. That still plays in the arena before the pay-per-views, but that's like about it, right?
Yeah. That's about it for sure. What's the story with the documentaries? When's the next one out?
We're at a big documentary crossroads at the moment, right here.
I
mean, thank you. Those are my pride and joy. Those don't do the traffic. Here's what's crazy is, we've got 120 something thousand YouTube subscribers. So thank you to everybody who's liked and subscribed to Morning Kombat. But roughly a seventh of those will ever have tuned into a documentary. I don't know if people just try it once and go, what is this weird fake office pro wrestling dynamic? But the key is it's not all pro wrestling, right? A lot of that stuff is the real raw emotion going on behind the scenes. And I think we mix it up enough well to entertain, to give people an inside view. But the lack of traffic means it is harder and harder for them to greenlight Jake Von Amsterdam, the fantastic documentarian, to pour his heart and soul into it. So I hope we find a few more dollars based on all of our successes and continue this. There's some talks about making them shorter, not doing them as often, but I literally look back at those as not only a stupid way to laugh and relive, but really to like relive the milestones of the show's growth and where we are. So I appreciate anybody that likes those, because, if it were up to me, all we'd be doing are room service diaries and documentaries. That's it. That'd be Morning Kombat. But
I love them. I think they're cool. I'm a big music documentary fan, so they kind of have that kind of vibe of
yes. We show the creative process now. Lately, they're starting to show the behind the scenes planning of it and stuff. And I just think it's interesting. It's a mockumentary a lot, but it's also pretty interesting. I mean, the dynamic between Luke and I is loving and volatile all at the same time, all the damn time. So there's you could have those there's probably better doc scenes that haven't been filmed, like that are just Luke and I screaming at each other. That happens too,
Yeah, the room service diaries are class too, man. Like Luke's stand there like a big giant on a tiny chair. Like I like that. It's just a great image.
They could not have put that set together.
That set looks brilliant.
They didn't ask us much about they showed us a couple mock-ups, but really when we saw that for the first time, we were just like, oh, they know us better than we know ourselves. Thank you, team. Thank you for that, because it's perfect. It is. It lowers the guard, man. It lowers people sit down, they sink into that couch. We offer them, a few different things to enhance their experience, and then before you know it, they're telling us their life story, and it's great. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I always like about when people are having conversations. It's like, I'm not into interviews. I really don't like an interview, because it's like you're not getting the real person, and people can be kind of a bit more guarded when they're being interviewed, because they're it looks like you're trying to get some sort of weird story out of them. But it's like,
here's what we don't understand about what the fighters go through, and let's be honest and fair about that. They're doing ahead of a big fight, 40, 50 interviews. All those interviews are the same. A lot of my brethren in the interview game, and sometimes I have to subscribe to this sort of clickbaity style too, are trying to keep their jobs by getting clicks, and that could be by writing overly positive stories or by trying to catch them every other word and slip in a fighter pay thing, which we all do. So they have, like any other experienced pro athlete, that default go-to response for every single question and scenario once they become savvy enough, or once they feel like they've been jaded by the business. The goal, and it's like what when Luke and I do argue the most about the show, it's usually about who are, the standard of the interview. Was that person famous enough? I always say this: there's no better challenge in the world than me willingly accepting somebody who's not a good interview, who typically always defaults and mails in with the same response or doesn't get, like a Cowboy Cerrone, right? Historically, the worst UFC interview at all damn times. There's nothing better to me than the challenge of getting somebody to lower their guard and say something they didn't expect to, or maybe raise their guard, because maybe me pissing them off is the only, in that moment, after failing 4 previous times and getting nothing from interviewing them, maybe that suddenly is the only way I can try to flip it on its head and spice it up. But playing that psychological game, again, not nefariously, but to just try to make great content and to just try to give the fight. That's what I like about RSD. It's long. So it's like, here's 90 minutes, fighter. You tell us who you are. Meaning, for the most part here, you control the narrative. You tell us, is your backstory about blue collar and overcoming, or you tell us. We'll counter, pick apart, ask you the key questions. But you got to get anybody off of that default go-to answer, because that's where the real stuff is. And that's, what people want. They want authenticity. They don't want the same ridiculous crap. Unless you're a great trash talker, then I think they want the fake bullshit. But that's another thing.
Who would you love on the room service diaries?
Great question. There's so many that intrigue me in ways that go beyond, Dana White and Conor McGregor. Wouldn't you love those? Of course.
I would love to see McGregor. Dude, that would be fucking epic.
It would be amazing. It would be amazing.
I think you would get the best out of him.
And there's such a challenge. It's like, would I try to challenge him to get him to actually comment on things that he's used to avoiding, or do I want to bro him up to get him to just be the real dude that is probably rarely comes around, but there is a real dude from Crumlin inside there who's just a dude, right? Like, I'd love that. I mean, Tyson Fury is because he's so all over the place and changes every day and what message he's trying to put out, and he would be a great one to go to. We've come close on Mike Tyson a few times. If we can ever get that locked down, that's obviously, a deep childhood dream to get that. But I sometimes like the weirder the better, the more complicated the better. I mean, would I have ever guessed that sitting down with Corey Anderson for 90 minutes would be this like uplifting, and at the end of it, I'm like, damn, man, I respect you. You know what I mean? Like, I respect who you are, who you're trying to be, as a family man, as an employee, all this. So, there's so many people that do it great in this game. And, Ariel's been at it forever because he's got his own style and strategy and platform. But I'm blessed that we've got this setting of the RSD, because this is the type of shit I'm into. Let's, like when we had Michael Chiesa on, it was, let's grab a beer and just be bros. And that's, I don't think there's enough of that in some regard, it's the same bullshit.
Would you ever, I know it's a fighting, you're doing MMA and boxing, but would you ever get anyone else on, like a musician or anything like that?
I'd love to. I would love to. Some of it is trying to sell Luke on it, although there are certain areas already that we have, either celebrity MK fans or people that are connected to us in some way where we're like, hey, what about that one? And, there's times where Luke's like, yeah, man, whether it's a comedian, whether it's a musician, I would absolutely love if RSD, well, not just RSD. Okay. Yeah. Because here's the nefarious truth about MK. Like, your boy BC here had a vision of this show in different forms going back almost a decade. You know what I mean? I don't mean like, I don't mean like I'm sitting on a crystal ball. I just mean like, I've been blessed enough at times to sort of get a vision of what the future might look like job wise, and sort of, okay, let me put my efforts in this direction. And, the original sort of vision of this daily combat show. And what's crazy is different walks of my career to this point, I thought I was there. When I was on like this podcast with this personality, or this one with this guy that I got along great with, turned out it didn't really hit until MK. But do you know what I want MK to be the least? Is the reason that gets people in the door. It's a really good boxing and MMA, analytical breakdown show. Yeah, and that stuff's cool, and I do that stuff. It's not why I want. It's not what I want to do. That's not why I'm here. What I love if RSD became just kind of like the podcast you're putting together. So I give you a lot of credit for that. A diverse walk through life and journeys, and it's funny how people from different walks can relate, right? It's all the same walk at the end of the day. Like if I can make this show a sitcom, a constant, argument between two hosts, a mirror image of how we're walking through life, and maybe people could pick up. I mean, the thing that gets me the most in a job that largely in the big picture feels sort of like pretentious and shallow. I know it's entertainment, right? So I've embraced that from the beginning. From the beginning, long before I ever had success, I embraced the idea that this is entertainment at the end of the day. Like, there's life and death inside the cage and ring, yes. But the rest of it, this is, this TV show, this UFC TV show is, you could flip to the West Wing if you wanted to, or The Wire, or whatever. Like, it's like you just chose to like that TV show. So what's my role in that? My role is to entertain in that. And when people can come up to me afterwards and legitimately, and I get this a lot, and I can't believe it, but be like, I lost my mom to cancer in the last year and it was hell, but I knew you'd be there 3 days a week to say something stupid and get Luke pissed and make me laugh. Like, damn, man, right? You know what I mean? Or hey, that one thing you said in passing to close the show about keep your head up, it's going to be okay, man. You don't know how much I needed that. Wow. Well, wow, right? So I've never wanted this to be anything different than what it actually has become, which is, it gets you in the door. We're talking about fights here, but we may end up talking more about the Washington Redskins changing their name, or more about, the realities of COVID, or more about being a washed piece of crap and trying not to get too fat while you're driving your kids. Like, and that may be what it is that day, but it's two guys hanging out. They could be on the end of your couch. They could be at the end of your bar, or they could be in their basement on Zoom. And that's just where we're at right here. And, and it's like, I look back on sort of my journey and the journey of the business at the same time. And it's like, man, there were really key people along the way, like Bill Simmons at the right time, who was the first one that sort of got people looking at sports in the kind of lens that they do when they're just talking to their friends on the side. And, I think I've come of age at a fun and key time with the growth of podcasts and now digital shows where, this is a full-on deceivement I can do to the people. Come in. We'll talk about Ngannou. It'd be great. Hey, Francis might even wrestle. You never know. But stay for the whatever you're looking to find in there that reminds you of you or the people you love, or just, again, distracts you from the grind that's trying to kill you every day. I mean, holy crap. I can't believe we're here, dude. And I've been a part of some really good podcasts that maybe 3,000 people were listening to, and I cared about the people that made that special. But I think this formula works, because this formula is just what you're doing after work, catching a pint with your boys. That's what this formula is. There's no secret sauce beyond two guys willing and a bunch of companies opening up their wallet. I mean, it's a joy. It's a joy.
Do you think it works because you two are you're united by your love of boxing and MMA, but you're also, you can tell you're different people. It's definitely on a music sense, fucking Napalm Death compared to Neil Young on the beach. There's a slight, difference.
Yeah, that contrast seems to work perfectly in creating nice debates and arguments. But then you end up finding out, which I think is what happens to all of us when we are forced to get to know somebody who's so different from us. You find out in some of the core ways you're exactly alike, and maybe that's why it works. So it is perfect in that regard. I mean, look, Luke's an intimidating presence. I remember being on the MMA beat with him, which is the origin of how this Morning Kombat thing came together, and I felt like people were intimidated at the idea of challenging him. And I just sort of was like, well, I mean, what's going to happen? He's going to not have me come back next week? Okay, cool. You know what I mean? I got another job. I'm fine. You know what I mean? Cool. Like, but what happens if I poke the bear a little? Well, look what happened. Going great, and that's a testament to Luke's vision and hard work just the same. But yeah, I don't fool around. Sometimes Luke looks at me in a real segment and says, are you for me or against me? And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm ultimately for you, but this show works because I'm against you. So, you're never supposed to know what I'm saying. Is it true or not?
Yeah.
Is that easy to be friends with? I don't know, but I think it's easy to be co-host with in that regard.
Did you know each other before that?
Yeah, but it was casual. Like, we met at Mayweather Canelo in 2013, and we probably said hi 5 times after that, through the years. And I may have come up to him after he got the Ariel show, after Ariel left, and, congratulated him and said, man, I really think this could be something. I mean, I think I was a positive voice, but we weren't close. He had me on his radio show once a year. It seemed like, for the big boxing preview or whatever. Right. But no, it was shocking to me and I tell the story all the time. The first episode I did with him and Chuck Mindenhall and Danny Segura, I was on the train home with Chuck going, wow, I guess that's one and done. That didn't work out so well. There was a lot of yelling, and he was like, no, Luke loved it. Luke loved it. It's like, oh, okay. I guess we got something here. Great.
That's cool, man. That's cool. On a slight divergence to music, is there any concert you were at that just fucking blew your mind? I think you said
Yeah,
one time. What
a
was
lot
it?
of them. I
Was it
used to rank
Wilco?
them.
Did you say Wilco maybe?
That's one of them. I
Fuck.
mean, in 2008, I ranked at that point all 77 concerts I'd been to in order
No shit.
based on quality of music mixed with what you knew about the material coming in, mixed with the party scene and who you were with. I mean, it's a very nerdy thing to do when you're working every night till 3 a.m. at ESPN, but you do that. What's crazy is, I've gone to probably 4 concerts since then in the last 15 years, but there was a stretch, let's say 1997 to like 2006 when I met my wife, and then eventually, life changes in a major way, where I felt like I was a professional concert goer, where there were stretches, there was a 3-4 year gap, and there was like, I'm going 3 concerts a week sometimes. There were some, and how do you get to that point of addiction? Because you love the music, of course, but
Yeah.
you feel something, and sometimes that's community. I mean, my buddy's the biggest Fish fan in the world, so I've gone on tour with him, and hit stops around the country, and you just get that feel in that community. But it's even deeper than that when it's a band in which you feel like their art is speaking to you. So what's the greatest concert I've ever been to? Before, a couple of weeks ago, it was the Black Crowes on the floor of Madison Square Garden, New Year's Eve 2005. And I wasn't a big Black Crowes guy, respected them, but I'd seen them at the Bonnaroo Festival a couple months earlier, and they were happy because they were back together, original lineup. The lead singer, Chris, was dating Goldie Hawn's daughter. Life was good. They blew us away in the rain at Bonnaroo. So my buddy and I, let's get like 18th row tickets on the Garden floor on New Year's Eve. It was just, and I listened back to it, but it doesn't, nothing can recreate that feel of being there, unified, being so into the music and the jams and the Zeppelin and Stones covers that came out in this set, and just the epic. Yeah, that was something that meant something. I said my favorite until a few weeks ago. I saw my favorite band, My Morning Jacket, again, and it was, I'd seen them a million times back in my early single days, but hadn't seen them since they took a long time off, and sort of their new attitude and feel. And I saw them in this tiny former tennis stadium in New Haven, Connecticut, and they blew me the hell away. My buddy and I were just tapping each other the whole concert going, I forgot what it felt like to have your face kicked in at a concert. And I've been lucky enough, dude, to have that happen a lot, and under different circumstances of where a band is at. Here's a great one. I don't know if you heard of the folk group, The Head and the Heart, which are kind of like a newish indie folk pop group. Saw them in 2013, Toad's Place in New Haven, Connecticut, which is an iconic old school venue that, the Stones, Dylan played, everybody. But it's a small little hole in the wall that fits, a couple, 400 people all on top of each other.
That's the shit, though.
But it was a Monday night.
That's what you want.
They just come out with their first album, and it was a Monday night out of school session. And why that matters in New Haven, Connecticut, it's one of the great forgotten college towns, like 5 or 6 colleges right in there. So if you go to a concert or a nightclub or a bar during school season, it's going to be rocking, right? This was like summer, out of school, Monday night. And the reason why I was apprehensive is because I had seen Kings of Leon in the same venue a few years earlier. And they mailed in a Tuesday night show that was a 28-minute set where they were so high and stoned, and they just mailed it in and played the exact version of the album. I remember on the drive to the venue, I was like, hey, guys, it's up to us as a crowd. We have a responsibility to add to the art tonight. And everybody's like, yeah, right, whatever, pass me a beer. I'm like, no, we can will them to a performance they are not prepared to give on a Monday night in the middle of a tour, right? In a college town where there's no college kids at the moment, but it's got to be collective. And it was like, yeah, romantic. That's great. Dude, there was something about that night, that show, where that band felt something from us. Maybe it's just applauding more than normal the first couple tracks, and they look at each other like, okay, we got something here. We found a pocket. There was something pure, organic, and amazing. And I mean, how do you describe it? It's like we're all making love to the art at the same time collectively. It's almost spiritual, I mean, we've all, been at a Fish or Dead show, and you're just crying. There's something connecting with you that's deep. I had that moment that night in that club. I've had that moment. Did you ever hear of this Australian band called the John Butler Trio?
Yes. He played in Ireland a lot.
there was good jam band. There was a point about 15 years ago where there were some people like they could be the next Dave Matthews, right? They never
Yeah.
made it commercially
Yeah.
on that level. But I was at the Austin City Limits Festival in 2004. And when they have these festivals, they got stages all over. They got this tiny stage with a tent on it. It was 12 noon and it was unseasonably hot. It was 104 degrees that day in Texas at 12 noon. And we're watching this band we'd never heard of in this tiny enclosed tent in which everybody in the crowd is just dripping sweat because it's so hot. And we're all packed in there like this. I have no idea who this band is. And this Australian dude picks up an 11-string acoustic guitar that he's like tapping on and just playing his heart out. And it was like this thing built where 3 songs in, nobody in there even heard of that band yet. We're all singing each lyric as if it's like, the script is in our head. And I remember exiting that going, either this band is about to be the biggest band in the world, or we just walked in on something cosmically fertile, organic, and beautiful that, real music fans that experience this know exactly what I'm talking about, man. It's love at the end of the day, right? I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but it's, there's a tear comes to your eyes, you're sweating and crying, and you're like, I'm in this, I'm a part of something. I mean, look, that's where art just go, and obviously it seems like music has a way to speak to us subconsciously in ways that we don't even know, or ways that we don't know how deep, but you can hear one chord of a song that relates to you of heartbreak and you're just right there. So it's like, okay, there's a power there, but I think it's beautiful, especially when used right. And I think it's a way that we just, I don't know, it's like the world makes sense after you're a part of those type of rare experiences.
Yeah. You have that feeling, and that's the great thing about music as well. It's not even the music. It's like it's how you use space around the music. Like you can use space as in just no music to actually make notes sound different. Like that's the amazing thing about music. And like Coltrane was good at that, and Talk were good at that, and people like that.
Yeah, like you could layer in the studio 50 things on top of each other, or you can play one chord with all of your heart and soul, and it sounds like you're aching, right?
Yes.
And one note.
Yes.
And it's just like, it's like, it's wild. Yeah.
And it's to capture that first moment. I remember Mark Hollis was always saying, he goes, nothing will ever beat a demo. Because he said at that moment, like there's something intrinsic about a demo.
Okay. The band Pearl Jam, right?
Yes.
Great American rock band. They've had so many great albums, and they're still a kick-ass live band today. But I get Pearl Jam fans mad at me when I say this. Nothing will ever, 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 ever equal how good that first album 10 was. Because look at where they were in their lives. Like angsty, trying to make it, all that raw aggression of what was done to them in their lives and what they've overcome came down for that moment when they laid down those tracks. Man, there's something to that you're right. You can't, it's an equivalent I see a lot in fighting when somebody gets, too rich or too popular, and suddenly you're not doing the same things you once did that made you great. We get that. We get why a lot of great artists succumb to drugs or the grind or the expectations, or they turn pop, or all these bad things that can happen to these artists that we love. But you're right. There's something about that first thing, first record, especially when it's just like guy and a guitar, right? And it's just like, and it's just, you can feel it. I don't know, man. I always make the joke that there's something about the guitar tone of like Duane Allman and Dickie Betts of the Allman Brothers, or Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead, where it speaks to stoners and hippies like a dog whistle. And I say that as a joke, but yet there's something about the tone that just is like,
you're speaking their same language. It's like a language that they're understanding you on that level.
That blows my mind that there's a lot more going on in our day-to-day around us than we ever really realize. You know what I mean? Even deeper than sort of the spiritual battle for our souls and all of this. There's just I don't know, man. And that's where art can really come in any form. It's like I try to drag my family to like museums, and because to me I've just kind of uncovered like what art means. And I can look at a picture and a painting and kind of just kind of go like this for 10 minutes, right? And I'm just like, what is that saying to my soul? And then my family walk by and be like, what, they spill a bunch of paint on that wall? Let's go to the next one. What are we doing here? And it's just art's wild like that.
That's what you mentioned about the soul, though, because it's like, AI art. Someone did a Vermeer. They took a Vermeer painting, and then they did like an AI composite of it, which is it's taken what Vermeer done and made an app, a copy of it, but it's not the same of it. It's its own interpretation of it. But you're looking at the Vermeer and you go, well, there's something about it has a soul in it. And you look at the other ones, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it looks amazing, but I'm not getting anything from it. Like it's weirdly, I know that sounds fucked up, but it's weirdly soulless. Like there's something devoid. Now maybe that's just in my perception of my mind. But
Yeah. I mean, you just may
no,
not have the right filters to get it. I mean, I don't get Cannibal Corpse, and Luke loves that absolute trash, but it speaks to
no.
his soul, right?
But I love the Vermeer. I love the actual guy who painted it. But the AI art, some computer that made it, I'm like,
Yeah, that's not the
it doesn't
same.
have the soul. It just doesn't have
It's
the
the same
soul
thing
for
as
me.
making drum tracks on a computer, and
Yeah,
you can make
yeah.
every instrument, right?
Yeah. Like you were saying about like the Pearl Jam thing. Like I get the same thing with Smashing Pumpkins. Like that their first few, it had that vibe. And when I think about it, I
Yeah.
think about that vibe. Maybe that's a vibe I created in my fucking head. But there's this kind of weird vibe
No,
that
you
is,
didn't create it. It's that, dude, it's the angst. It's that like feeling like this has to work because these are like, it's back to what we're talking about being authentic. That's the most authentic these people ever fucking were, right? Like that is
yeah,
the
man.
most like I've got a message about what I have endured, so world share it. And that message can get watered the hell down by fame and success and excess and all that stuff. And same thing to us. It's like I mentioned how much I used to love Bill Simmons, and he changed this game. Like everybody else, I hated him too. About 10 years later, I remember Chris Berman was the biggest thing ever, given nicknames on ESPN, and then he became the lamest thing ever. So but when we connect with this art or these people or these at the exact right time, man, it's timing and it's feeling and it's movement. But in music particularly, I mean, how many people have like 2 or 3 great albums, like great 5-star records, and they become famous off that, and they tore off those songs for the rest of their lives? But no one ever talks about the subsequent 15 records that everyone hates. It's like,
Yeah.
why did it just dry up? Like, what happened right there? Is it life circumstances that changed that? It's such a weird phenomenon. The same way somebody like a Bob Dylan or a Rolling Stones who can consistently reinvent themselves and put out great material. Neil Young, any of these like just lifers where you're like, they either made a deal with the devil or they just kept pivoting so often that it was always fresh. And there was always there was always a desire for them to make a statement in some way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Do you think you need to keep that kind of weird hope or innocence or something like that you had? Because when you're younger, you have that fucking I can rule the world kind of mentality. And when a lot of those guys get to the point that they, can rule the world in essence of like their careers in music, they don't have that fucking, oh man, I need to do this, because they're just kind of, I don't know, did they become aware of how shit their records are?
Well, I don't think they do because of I think the pressures that come from, in certain bands, stories of record companies, and we need a hit, and like not everybody can be Joni Mitchell and put out all these jazz records and have her label be like, this is career suicide, but yet she's just putting out her. No, but I think the difference is like in how we can relate that question that you asked to even our own walks is like, you've got to keep at least one dominant emotion fresh and alive and yearning. And what I mean by that is there's always going to be that drive to make it. And a lot of times it's because I want to prove somebody wrong, or I want to prove to myself, or I want to prove to the people I grew up with, and whatever, you know what I mean? But obviously then you can make it and still, like I did in my career, finally made it. And then hit this wall of depression. Like, this is it. This is all I'm supposed to be doing. You have to that's why, like, we make fun of when we watched during the pandemic, that Last Dance, Michael Jordan documentary that ESPN put out. That was just so epic and detailed. What's the biggest thing everybody talked about that was how Michael Jordan constantly cooks up different reasons in his head to be pissed at somebody to bring out the best of himself. There's something structurally wrong with that, I think, from a behavioral standpoint. Or is there? Because that sociopathic mindset is constantly keeping fresh his burning desire to, you could say it's art. His basketball career was art, but it's also, his is probably more of a chokehold on winning, like the addiction to winning. Like, I must dominate you.
Yeah.
I just think that the key through all the changes that life brings us in circumstances and money and all that stuff, you've got to have a why and it could change. The why might be just feeding your kids, you know what I mean? But that why needs to be first and foremost as like your northern light that you're following, that's guiding you, because if you don't, then you don't have purpose. And that's when you become stale. That's when you could lose interest. That's when anything can happen. You've got to have that why of why am I getting out of bed to try to be the very best or the as different as I can be, you know? And it's like, I agree. You know, you look at a Bowie or a Madonna musically and man, they changed constantly their look, their style, their delivery, all that. And, you know, there's times when it's like, man, I wish they didn't go in that direction. I would have loved to hear 3 more of this exact kind of album, but I really respect how they were always ahead of that stale desire that's the staleness to our own personal driving desires that I think lead to those shitty albums in rock history when you couple it with cocaine and money, you know, all that other stuff and guns, you know. Yeah.
I remember I seen Bowie live. Maybe it's about 6 months before he stopped playing. It was that reality tour. Fucking unbelievable. It was like 3 hours long, man. It was just
You saw him live, you're saying?
yes, yes. I seen Bowie live when I was 17. No one liked David Bowie when I was a kid. So I grew up like everyone going, fucking David Bowie, yeah, fuck that. Because Bowie was kind of at that period. He wasn't like revered. He kind of went through that period of like after like during Hours, Heathen. He was kind of starting to respect him more. And I remember I was like saying, I'm gonna go to Bowie, and like, I'm not going to fucking David Bowie. So I went on my own. I looked like a complete dick shit. I was in a pinstripe suit. I looked like an asshole, but and the Dandy Warhol supported him, and there was no one there. Some guy shouted up, "You're shit!" And the guy that went Dandy Warhol's like, "Shut up, man!" Some other goes, "Yeah, you are shit," because everyone just wanted to wait for Bowie. Like poor guys, I felt bad for them. Anyways, but yeah, it's fucking crazy. They even recorded
That's awesome.
It's even recorded on the DVD live in Dublin. I seen
Oh, that's the one you were at. Damn.
yeah, I seen my asshole self in the crowd. He did 2 nights. And I'm not sure, was it the first night? But it was class, man. It was just like, I was there going, holy shit, this is just unreal, man. Playing stuff from Low and fucking everything, man. It was fucking.
Do you have a favorite Bowie record? Because I like to debate this a lot with good rock fans.
Oh, shit.
I mean,
it's 3.
Because I'm that
There's
Bowie
3.
fan. I'm the Bowie fan who has tasted the Berlin trilogy and realized everyone says these are the ones that are really the best and it should be your favorite and the best. But I haven't found my footing yet in those to give him that. So which one did you pick?
Low. I love Low. I think Low is amazing. Funny enough, I love Heathen. That later album he did too, and I love Black Star. I think Black Star is just incredible.
All right, Aaron Bronsteter speaks on Black Star a lot.
Black Star is incredible.
And I'm always like,
and Hunky Dory. Hunky Dory, come on.
Yeah, that's about as good. See, I always go with The Man Who Sold the World as a sort of a surprise curveball because it's quality. You know, in his constant genre switching, it's like hard rock heavy metal. I mean, Ronson is going after it and the lyrics are dark as shit and it's aggressive, but it's still got some cheeky Bowie, you know, black country rock type of feel to it. But yeah, man, you can't go wrong, obviously. But so Black Star's interesting. I remember people were saying how dark that record was. It's a guy dying writing about it, but you feel that brilliance coming through there as if he was like aware of exactly what he's doing at the end.
I just think it was like this album that he kind of, you know, because I think sometimes Bowie definitely in the past we said Let's Dance and that kind of era, he was playing to the masses, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
he definitely wasn't fulfilled there. Black Star just was a record of guys like, I fucking love jazz music. I'm gonna make some sort of jazz rock, whatever the fuck it is, and I just think it's fucking class. I love it. It's like you can feel there's dudes jamming in a room together.
Yeah,
you can feel that vibe. Even on one of the songs, you can tell that he's singing it live. Because it's kind of like slight, you know, it's not like it's from a dynamic mic and not a condenser mic like that. You can hear that fucking thing. I'm like, oh man, that's.
Dude, don't you love that feeling when you have begun the unlocking of why something is great? It's just like the air is coming out of the balloon and you're getting a whiff and you're like, I get it. I don't mean to imagine you doing whippets here, but I get it. Follow me. It's going this way. I mean, you know, the best example, like Radiohead's OK Computer, which in your parts is probably considered, you know, one of the greatest. It should be considered a landmark. It's like when I bought that on CD, I was like, okay, I don't understand this. I don't even really like it, but I know that there's something there. It's alive. I say that too about Joni Mitchell. I became a monster Joni Mitchell fan in the pandemic, and a lot of people that know me musically, they're like, oh, well, you're the biggest Dylan fan ever. I'm like, Joni's the GOAT. Joni's actually above Dylan. They're like, sacrilege, what are you talking about? I'm like, there's something alive when you put on the album Blue by Joni Mitchell. It's folk music like everybody else, except it's alive. There's something about what was the record I was just referencing? Oh,
Okay,
okay,
computer.
computer. That probably took me like 30 consecutive listens to even begin to unravel the concept and what the musicianship at that point in my life was trying to tell me,
Hmm.
and just how sonically brilliant. And I still feel like today, every time I put it on and hear it as a whole, because it's one of those type of art projects that you can only listen in the album form front to back, no
Yeah.
skipping, no whatever, everybody out of the room. This is the only thing I'm focusing on, which is really why I got into vinyl the last couple of years, because it's the opposite of the disposable trend of the 20 years before that, where everybody's got every song on their iPod, pad, whatever. And no, it's I must put this record on, I must read the liner notes and just engulf myself in it. And I did that in the late 90s with OK Computers. Like every single listen, it was like there's another secret door I opened, and maybe it's just a fulfillment of making myself feel smart, or maybe it's just a brilliant piece of art that is perfectly inaccessible for those that shouldn't stumble into it. But those that do, it's just like, man, that process is some of the most rewarding sort of like coming of age feeling that we can have in our regular life while we're enjoying it. But man, maybe that's why we make room for all this art, because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. And like you were saying about vinyl, like I mean, that's like you could get into the inherits of vinyl sound better than like I mean that what is better. I mean, if you're going for sound quality, it isn't taking off frequency, so it's not a complete composite of, we'll say, someone a digital file. But anyways, I have tons of vinyl. I love vinyl. But what I love about vinyl, I'm sure like the same for you, is like you physically have to get up and physically
yes.
change it. So you can't go, you give albums more of a time. Whereas if you're on your fucking phone, you go, well, I'll skip that shit.
And dude,
You know, and then you
this
get
is
songs you used to hate, or not hate, but you're like, oh shit, that's my favorite song now. And you're like, I didn't like that song, but I fucking
yeah,
love
but
that
now I
song now.
heard that one radio hit and the flow of the album
Yes.
and in the message, dude. I could not be more. So maybe it's like, so when I first started buying my own music, I was probably in middle school and I'd have to save up allowance money. And I remember my dad was like a stickler, and he's a monster music fan, ridiculously large collections, likes everything. But he would be like, "Are you sure that's the best investment of your money?" I'm like, "What are you talking about, Dad? I love that." He's like, he would always go, "How many songs do you know off that record?" And I'd be like, "Well, I know the single that's playing on MTV or whatever, And he'd be like, "So I remember I bought the Lemonheads. It's a Shame About Ray," and he was like, "How many songs do you know off that right now?" I'm like, "One, Dad." And he's just like, "I'm just warning you, make sure this is a good investment." There was something about like me wanting to like prove that I knew what I was doing and I was buying a record and it was a good investment. So I would listen to it with the, no, this is also, the early 90s. So it's different than today. You had to go out and buy it. And it was like this thing that you could put on a shelf, and it said something about you. It was, it was I didn't get to grow up in the vinyl era, but I get to grow up looking at my dad's and reading the liner notes. And man, when
We're
it
the
all
same,
went
so
disposable with being able to burn a burnt copy of any record you ever wanted to, or then once we got into digital and iPods, it was obviously I jumped in like everybody else, but it was like, let me give this song or this album that a buddy told me to listen to, 10 minutes of my time. And if it doesn't click right away, on to the next one. And what you're doing is you are closing off so many roads of the type of albums I'm talking about, like an OK Computer, in which it's like purposely inaccessible, right? It's like you have to live it.
yes.
Coming back to vinyl in the midst of the pandemic for me, and I've always been an album guy over live music, love music, love special live concerts, love being at
I'm
concerts,
the same,
but I
bro.
appreciate the production that it takes, the layering, the vision, all of that. This is a return to what it felt like as a kid, to get a record and know that you only have 3 or 4 of them because you only have so much money. So it better be good. And I am going to take time. I'm going to
Yeah.
shut everybody out, close the door, a lot of times put the headphones on and just be there. And that's why I only buy used, because some people are like, oh, I won't buy that one because somebody wrote their name on it. No, I want the name on it. You know what I mean? I want the little love note that they wrote on the inside, because I'm holding it going, I used to do that. I'd go, Dad, I'd sit at my dad's collection, grab, Led Zeppelin 2 and go, okay, Dad, how old were you when you bought it? What was your situation in life? I do that same thing when I pick up a used record, or I see someone's name on there and I can Google to see if they're still alive. I'm like, at some point, this physical hard copy was a coming of age vehicle for somebody. And all these years later, through flea markets and people dying and whatever, it's now in my collection. And I'm experiencing the same art the way it was meant to be consumed. Damn, right?
Yeah, man. There's some like I don't know if you got any of the Blue Notes that are putting out these like AAA, like just amazing like records that weren't out for. They sound fucking incredible. Like during like the last few years, they sound. Are you a big jazz fan?
Oh, I yes, and
Okay.
isn't it crazy that Joni got me there? Joni Mitchell got me
That's so
there.
funny you should say during the pandemic about Joni Mitchell because I knew Joni Mitchell, like on the periphery. You know of these people, you know.
Don't you hate her as a persona? I hated her,
She's
right? She's the
crazy.
worst.
But I got into her during the pandemic too. I listened to Blue, was like, what the fuck? How have I never heard this? You know, like you go through that thing, you're like, I always knew this, and I kind of not that you gloss over, but there's so many of those things you kind of go, you know, whatever, like that. And it's so weird. I'm the same thing. I got into her during. I'm like, fuck, man, how did I never hear this? And then I went and heard the thing she did with Herbie Hancock and all
Oh
that stuff.
yeah, and she's
Crazy.
always had bad. She always got Jocko or some
Yes,
Pat
yeah,
Metheny. She's always Donna Lai. She's always got the most badass people of the moment, playing with her. And even if people don't love her vision of jazz, I came around and I love it. Not so much Mingus, but I think did you get into Don Juan's Reckless Daughter, that double record she put out?
no, no,
Okay, so
I could
you're
check
gonna
that
be
out.
probably um probably unhappy when you first grab it because she's in blackface on it, and it really does not hold up in any year or ever. But it was this is like Halloween costume she used to put on to fool people. She put out her most ambitious, forgotten, derided album that I actually think, I love allmusic.com. I love their ranking system. I have some quabbles with them, but I think for the most part, they're
Yeah,
accurate.
I
They
agree.
rate that like a 2-star album and they missed it. This is a combination of jazz, world music, folk, rock that is just so there takes so many bizarre turns, but in pure Joni fashion, she's all in on each of those bizarre turns. And it is just these are some of the most badass jazz players of all time around are playing,
Sweet.
on the liner notes of that record. Yeah, that got me into it, but I didn't come into jazz and then out sprout like everybody else. I came in through Joni into jazz fusion with Jocko and all them. And then from there, went out, and I'll give Aaron Brunstad a lot of credit as my jazz shaman to lead me there. But no, man, it is, from being a jam band guy, right? Like I've always appreciated from the Almonds to Fish to the Dead, whoever, just, taking a song that we know on an album, but stretching it out to 5 times as long and going in, you know, places that they didn't even know they were going because they're just improvising. Dude, isn't jazz fusion like the ultimate mix of
Quality, man.
everything that's great about jam band, rock? There's like elements of progressive rock, which I always thought I hated because of rock radio shoving Rush and Yes down my throat. Respect to those two bands, but just getting it shoved down your throat. Then you discover what real prog is, and you're like, oh my God. And then it all comes together on fusion. It is the most amazing dynamic. I mean, this 1970s decade, I spent half my life listening to classic rock.
Yeah.
I never realized what the 70s had to offer. I realized the Stones, I realized Zeppelin, I realized, Carole King, James Taylor. I realized a couple of elements of it. I did no idea what the true heartbeat of music being made in the 1970s was. And then when you add in that jazz and particularly jazz fusion, all these superstars are playing on each other's records. It's like the ultimate group of friends, whether you're more of a Weather Report guy
I was
or
about to say the Weather
Return to
Report.
Forever or Headhunters. Dude, this is some of the greatest music of all time. And you
Yeah.
can get into it through whatever your calling card. If you're a rock guy, go put on the Corner by Miles Davis and you'll be blown away, or Billy Cobham's Spectrum, right? You'll just be like, holy shit, is that Van Halen? Or if you're whatever, I mean, there's so many entries into it. It's mind blowing, dude. Jazz and jazz fusion have opened up not just a new world. I think the world that I was in is now over. It's a new everything. The way I look at all music now through the lens of like jazz and fusion and how people work together. And it's just, man, then you discover these bands that you're like, I was taught to hate Chicago. Turns out the first 8 Chicago records
yeah, man.
rule.
There's some quality shit.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears with Al Cooper, the first record rules. Genesis with all of Genesis, but particularly with with Peter Gabriel.
Peter Gabriel, yeah.
And just rules, man. I mean, we were classic rock radio really, really did us wrong. It really did us wrong all those years.
Yeah. That's the fucking class thing about jazz, though. It's like if the Beatles and the Beach Boys decide to play on each other's records. Like you have like John Coltrane, he's playing on Miles' record. Then you have like Herbie Hancock play. Like all these dudes are like all-star motherfuckers, and they're all everywhere. You just see them like Ron Carter. Like I had Ron Carter on my podcast.
Amazing.
Speaking
Listen
to
to it.
fucking
Yes.
Ron Carter, bro. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, shit, man. You want to ask these guys so many questions and shit because they're like there's a litany of like you could go on forever, and you look at the liner notes and you're like, oh my god, he played on that. I don't know him. I'm gonna get him. And Joe
Dude,
Henderson
is
played
there
on
anything
that.
better than liner notes math when
Oh,
you're just
bro,
like,
just
and you
amazing.
get blown? You're like, wait, Jerry Garcia was the guy playing pedal steel on Crosby, Stills and Nash's Teach Your Children. What? You know, like there's these moments that you're just sort of like,
Yeah,
they
bro.
played on that guy. That guy played that famous lick that I've, like it's yeah. Man, there is a discovery waiting to happen for anybody out there. All you need is a shitty turntable and some used 1970s records, and you can,
Yeah,
and a pair of good headphones, and you could go every single day away. You can go
yeah.
far away in your own mind.
It's an endless river, isn't it? Before I let you go, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you this, because I'm Irish and I have to do an obligatory Conor McGregor question.
Yes.
Um, I've had this conversation with my brother many, many times. Do you think he would be the same fighter he is now if he hadn't taken the Mayweather fight? Because that Alvarez fight, he looked fucking incredible in that. And then
Oh,
it was like either money or being a class fighter.
yeah. He had the Mayweather, the McGregor magic, the Mystic Mac thing going, and it was. I think it actually went beyond just I see everything and I call the finishes. Like there was a magic that he
Yes.
operated with in
Yes.
2015 and 16. He was also on an insane schedule of fighting through injuries, which is why he said after beating Eddie, in addition to I want stock from the UFC, he was going to take a long break, have his first child, whatever. So really the question is, yeah, end of 2016, if he had come back and got, or midway, summer of 2016, if he had taken 6 solid months off and he had come back and didn't chase whiskey and Mayweather and celebrity and arrests and all that stuff, where would he be today? It's a great question. And I question it in some ways because of that magic. Some people think the magic doesn't exist. What I mean by magic is look at Tim Tebow's run that year as the quarterback of the Broncos when no one would give him a chance. Look at Jeremy Lin for that 3-week stretch where he's dropping 40 on Kobe and winning games at the buzzer at the Garden. Look at any moment you want to point to in sports history where somebody is already good, but they uncover greatness. They uncover that
Yeah.
lightning about Jorge Masvidal in 2019. You just have unlocked something to figure out in that short period how to be better than you should be, where there's no limitations on you. He got to that rarefied era in 2016 where even losing to Nate, but then coming back and beating him in a classic, there were no limitations on what I believed he was capable of. That's wild in the fight game to literally go,
Yeah.
would I favor him against the welterweight champion? No, but I cannot count him out until I see it. Now we're a long way removed from that.
Oh
That
God,
magic
yeah.
ain't coming through the door, whether
No.
you believed it was ever real or not. I do believe he benefited from that magic. He was willing to be great in those moments. He had that rare gift that he could get in there against Aldo, but then raise his game to just this ridiculous level. But if he hadn't, I mean, the Mayweather fight is what is most responsible for him breaking the
Yes.
bank.
Yeah,
If he
I'd do
hadn't
the same.
done that, would it have caught up to him that he was naturally going to be bad against wrestlers? Would it have caught up to him that, I mean,
Yeah. It's hard,
he
isn't
wouldn't have
it?
been able to make featherweight anymore. Could he have stayed in that killer lightweight division and beaten the Fergusons, the Habibs, the Eddie Alvarez's, or who he did beat, but the Poiriers and Gaethjes after
Yeah.
them during a time when they were all still closer to their prime? I wonder, man. I wonder if had that all happened and he stayed active, if he still may have just been celebrity Connor and lost a couple here, but then bounced
Yeah.
back and beat this guy and maybe got back into another title fight, maybe won another title fight. I will tell you, his career would be more decorated today. He would fought more guys. We would look at him and probably respect him differently. But I don't know for sure. In fact, I'll tell you, I no, he could not have kept up that magic that he brought to 2016. Like the magic inevitably runs out. I think what Connor did in 2015 and 16 was literally max out in front of our eyes on the brightest stage for the most amount of money we've ever seen in MMA and the biggest pay-per-view buys and just one of the most memorable stretches and one of the most important, by the way, for the sports history. I mean, that was the fuel that led into that $4 billion sale in the middle of 2016 when Zuffa and the Fertitas sold that. So I don't think he would have been able to keep that up. But I think what he would have had after the Alvarez fight, even after taking a break, is the career that some of us still think is possible in him, which means come back and maybe surprise somebody and win this fight. And they're all going to be big fights, but pick and choose. only each day that goes by, I say sadly because covering McGregor has been one of the joys of my career. And I went on the road in 2016 for the first time covering MMA on the regular when he was on top. So I'll never forget what that feeling was like.
Yeah.
But injury, time off, changing his body for the movie, all the ridiculous things he puts out on social media, all the businesses and arrests. I'm a guy who can talk myself into that magic still being alive and still being around. That magic's gone, unfortunately.
Yes.
And I don't know whatever he has left. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I have, less and less hope. And at the start of 2022, I had a lot more. 1 year later, I don't feel like we've made any progress in that regard. So he's sort of is who he is now, but it's going to be the great what if, because nobody ran higher, harder, or hotter over that stretch in the sports history than him. And then it was over. You know what I mean? Yeah, he made the Floyd fight, and he built to the biggest fight ever against Khabib, and it lived up to the expectations in terms of like an event, and it was crazy. But what has he accomplished since Eddie in the cage?
I know. There's
not much.
You bet
much,
Cowboy, man. But Cowboy was at that point.
It was fool's gold, man. That was fool's gold to what he had. And look, that year with COVID never happening, that year he said he was going to come back and fight 3 times. What would that year 2020 have looked like if he had? I don't know. It's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Plus, was it 2019? What am I thinking of here?
2019, 2018. Yeah, it was 2019, I think. But plus, it was the first time I seen Conor when he got hit by Poirier that he kind of capitulated. That you could see he was like, it was like that Lesnar thing. Remember, Lesnar hated getting hit like a true bully. Anyone that hits him back, he's like, oh shit, bro, what the hell's this shit? It was like that
moment for me was when Khabib dropped him, and was it round 2 with that right hand?
Yeah,
at 229. I was just like, oh, didn't have that on my bingo card. Had him getting taken down and submitted, but not him getting dropped and rocked with a right hand.
But he did well in that fight. People think,
he did better than all those other guys combined. It seemed like, right?
Which is so weird because the dude was probably drunk as fuck and like out of it. Like that's what kind of annoys me. I think if I was Conor, and I know I'm not shitting on his team, but you can't have guys that are afraid to spar you, and they're afraid, go easy on him. It's like you have to train with killers. You can't be training with just dudes that you'd find in the local gym. No disrespect to those guys, but you need to be training.
Full circle, he's like that rock artist who, developed an unsustainable life for his creativity with all the excesses, right? And would come back once in a while and drop something on us. And it was, decently entertaining, but it was never him at full operating potential. Like you mentioned, even the Khabib fight, what we find out in hindsight, how much the excess was still a part of his life in the camp building up, how, he was rabid in terms of trying to get in Khabib's head, which can be a very desperate move for a guy, who has that ability in that moment. But we have not seen you can argue that the 40 seconds against Cowboy, maybe that would have been the start of something new and pure and clean, but the combination of injuries and the pandemic stopped that. Then he fought Poirier twice and we saw what happened. But forget what you will on accomplishments. I don't think we've ever seen the artist operating at his highest potential since Eddie, and maybe never again. Right? Yeah. Just regardless of the outcome, but just seeing the very best of what he had left in that moment. Maybe we did against Cowboy, but we'll never know because he didn't follow it up.
Okay. Before I let you go, last question. If you were a fighter, what would be your ring music?
So people always ask that, and I think they expect they should expect me as a good music guy to have something that's just sort of like says it, right? It just sums it up. My mission, my journey, what I plan to do. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just the old school dude in me, but like Unchained by Van Halen. If I heard that opening riff and I'm starting to walk the aisle, I think the crowd get on their feet. I think that'd be pretty awesome. You know what I'm saying?
That'd be pretty.
Or Mean Streets by Van Halen. Just come up. Yep, he's here to kick ass. So I think I would go a little old school on that and just go straight ahead rock and roll.
Could you go something even just weird as fuck and like have like a jazz song and people are like, what the fuck is this? You look almost weirdly psychotic coming out to like, we'll say like Blue and Green by Miles Davis. Like this.
Yeah, and it is weird, by the way, when badass fighters come out to like Christian songs that are like real calm and pure and uplifting, or like Chael Sonnen coming out to that that country song, whatever the heck that was. That was too much fun. What is that? It's just sort of like, oh, okay, all right, guy. It's yeah. I mean, it's an expression. It's an expression of art known worldwide, right? Tap out. But um, yeah, I'd probably have to go old school rock because you'd be scared out of your gourd, right? Every single time. So I'd need something that kind of just kicks that door in and gets me going. Like, okay,
Yeah.
let's go risk it all. It's time to go risk it all.
Have you ever done jujitsu or anything like that?
No, so the explanation of I guess why I got so deep into combat sports, having always been a fan, but when I was so it was like 2004, when I was in my mid-20s and single, I had a buddy who turned part of his house into a boxing gym, and he got real serious,
Wow.
and he had kickboxing experience, and he said, look, I'll take care of you, but do you want to come over and spar 3 nights a week? And we had, I mean, I wasn't training for a fight, I never went into the amateurs, but for about 6 months we were living the life. We were doing the training, we were sparring full on, and I got a good taste of the addiction level to the human chess match that goes on inside of there. I got a great respect for getting dropped, getting knocked down, getting hurt, and seeing what that's all about, and fighting
Yeah.
through fatigue and all that. There was something that period of my life did to form, because we can watch, like, let me say this, been an NFL fan my whole life, right? Played fantasy football a million times. But when I watch the game, what am I looking for? I watch the snap of the ball, and I look to see which receivers might be open that the camera can pick up. But if you played football, you're watching blocking schemes, you're watching like the blitz package, you're watching like all these inner dimensions. It was like that for me in boxing. I always really liked boxing, probably fueled by the Rocky movies as a kid. Watched
So
Leonard
good.
Hagler on pay-per-view in 87. Like, I had moments, but I was watching to see which one would knock out the other one. It wasn't until I picked it up, gained that respect, put in some of the hard work, got tagged, took a right cross, got dropped. I mean, those type of moments where you're like, oh, now I can see the game within the game. That was the ultimate game changer in terms of lighting the spark of what got me to exactly where I am today. Of just, I mean, MMA and boxing, I love this game. I love the overcoming of fear, the courage. Like, what's the best part about watching fights? To me, it's watching the human spirit unfold in front of your eyes. Somebody rallying back from the brink of defeat, or Juliana Pena just not saying no against Amanda Nunes and just refusing to go down until she just broke her all-time GOAT opponent. And you're just like, that's what's possible right there, if I believe. That's why I watched this fight. But getting a taste of it. I didn't roll for 10 years like Luke, but I put on the gloves, and I got a taste of that strategy. And it's a very, very beautiful game. It's weird. The closer you get to boxing, and I've been very close, still am.
Yeah.
It's gnarly, it's unorganized, it's unfair. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things not to love about it. But that classic purity, almost royalty to it, man, that's hard to give up. There's a love for the purity of just two guys putting on the gloves. And there's still a lot of that in MMA, right? Just two guys putting on the gloves, taking the clothes off, walking in there, and just finding out the answer. There's just that the moment that stops tasting the way it does taste, I'll be selling insurance or retired somewhere, right? But until then, this is what I do, because I love people that can break down the game. I just like saying, oh my God, really loud when cool things happen. And sometimes people pay me to do that. So it's really awesome.
My dad was actually he was a junior Irish champion 3 times in boxing, and he hates
Look
it.
at this.
He hates MMA. And his brother too. He hates MMA. Like, he's
I
like, oh,
respect
I
that.
don't like that cage fight and stuff. I'm like, yeah, but Dad, you've never watched it. No, just guys fighting in the cage. Go away with that. He just doesn't get it. It's weird.
Yeah, it'll always be unskilled guys with bare hands, like fighting for their paycheck in his eyes. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, man, thank you so much for doing this. Fucking great
Oh,
chat
dude,
with you, man.
I just rambled. I'm sorry. Hopefully I didn't.
No, man, it's brilliant. I loved it. It was great. I'm a total rambler too, so don't you even worry. Actually, do you know what I meant to say to you? Speaking of concerts, I seen the Flaming Lips there a few months ago. It's like my first COVID after.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Like, I literally, my mind was blown how good it was.
Okay, I've danced around the Flaming Lips. Like, I once watched them open for Wilco at Madison Square Garden, and I didn't know the songs, and I was kind of grabbing a beer and not paying attention. But the showmanship,
Yeah,
and the crowd's reaction to it was just like, oh, if I ever stumble into this group, like, there's something here. Would you vouch? Like, you're saying, hey, BC, like,
100%. Yeah,
go
dude.
find the Flaming Lips. Go
Dude,
go.
it was one of those experiences. I was like, holy shit, man. I was like out of it. I was like, fucking hell. I was just blown away. Like I'd taken a load of magic mushrooms, but they were gone off, so it did nothing. But like thankfully, thankfully, I didn't need them. It was just fucking like my friend had never seen them, didn't really know them, and he was like he came out of it going, that was the best concert I was ever at in my life. It was just like
That's awesome.
it was just one of those like you were
Dude,
saying
the
like
right
that
night, the
yeah.
right time in the band's life, the right reaction from the crowd, which you can never overlook. I mean,
Yes.
it's perfection. And it's funny the way that we're describing that feeling, same feeling we get about the fights, right? Same feeling
Yeah,
you
man,
get
it's
when
the
it's like,
exact same,
oh
isn't
shit,
it?
it's a war. Oh my God. You
Exact
know,
same, like, But
all
yeah.
heart.
Yeah, exact. Hey man, thanks so much. How can people find you? Where can they socials, all that
Yeah, how about
stuff for
at
Rue?
B Campbell on Twitter, at Brian C. Campbell on Instagram if you so care. But we do this morning combat thing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern on the YouTubes. Check it out. It's about fights. It's about life.
Exactly, brother. That's a good way to end it. Thanks very
And
much,
one day
man.
I'll get a music podcast going. I don't know what it's going to look like one day.
I
All
was
right.
about to ask you that you would be fucking great at doing that.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd love to just review 70s albums on a like on a every day. Okay, today, what do we got going on here? It's like, oh, here's Desire by Bob Dylan. It's fantastic. It's great. Like that'd be
But
great.
there's something enjoyable about listening to other people like talk about something that you like, and then you like, oh, I
Yes.
didn't see that.
Well,
Like
the real long-term move, and this is a hardcore upon hardcore's idea, but like when I'm looking at these liner notes on these records, and I'm like, this guy played on everybody's record. Is he still alive? And then you go up on Facebook, like the dude's still alive. And like, I'll launch an email sometimes just trying to spark something up. Most of the time it doesn't go through, but we're at a fingertip technological point in this world where I can read a liner notes and just be like, I wonder if that dude's somewhere and willing to tell a story. Wouldn't you love to do a podcast like that where you just track down like,
yeah,
the guy that played bass on that album or
it's
whatever?
crazy.
Man.
Like I do email some people thinking they're never going to email back. Like Van Dyke Parks, like who did all the Beach Boys stuff, did some for Silverchair, you too.
Great shit.
Total dude, like, and he was like, "Yeah, Paul, let's do this." I had him on twice. Like, it's like just total cool dude.
Amazing.
It's like fucked up. You could never do that years ago. Just email some guy, and go, "Hey man, can you?"
So my friends kind of make fun of me because sometimes I'll like search on Facebook for like some guy that played point guard in the 90s on a college basketball team that I liked, and he was like the backup and he was cool. And and that guy's just like works a regular job now. And I'll be like, I'm playing up to his ego, but I'll be like, hey, dude, were you that dude that? And he'd be like, yeah. And then you get all these inside stories about what it was like. And you're like, man, this is the good shit right here.
But
All
they're the
right.
kind of interest I find I'm more interested in someone who's like had a music career and they were like big for a while and then they disappeared. I'm like, dude, why
Yeah.
did you disappear? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, there's a guy named Paddy McAloon. He's do you know Prefab Sprout? They were an
No.
80s band, like guy's unbelievable, like writing just beautiful pop songs. And he just decided to stop touring and he lives in Durham, this small place in England, and he's a huge
Damn.
and he wrote this. He started having ear problems, earring. Oh fuck, I can't speak. Hearing problems. A few years ago, he couldn't hear bass, so he just did this purely classical, neoclassical record. That's just he took radio excerpts and put them into classical. It's one of my favorite records. It's fucking
That's
amazing. It's just I'm
that's
like,
awesome. And but
like
he may have figured out life. He may have
yeah,
had his taste. It was good. It was fun, but he's got other fish to fry. I can respect that.
yeah. Anyways, sorry, I'm tangent on here, but anyways, man, thanks so much for doing this. And any music stuff you have recommendations, fire me an email.
Oh, are you kidding me, dude? I'll blow your doors in. You'll be like, all
Hey
right, dude, you
man,
can leave me alone now.
I'll
You can.
I'll send you some stuff too, man.
All right, sounds good, brother. Great talking to you.
Okay, thank you so much.